North Carolina is reeling from that James Madison loss last week, but the key now, how do you put it behind you and move on to Duke?
You are Locked On Tar Heels, your daily podcast on the UNC Tar Heels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, what's up? It's Friday, September 27th, 2024. Welcome into the Locked On Tar Heels podcast. It's the only daily North Carolina show out there. I'm your host, Isaac Shea, joined by our buddy, Denora Cersei, who's fresh off of going back up to see his Bills take care of business on Monday Night Football. And you're joining us at the place to get your Tar Heels content every single day. It's all part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We want to thank you for making us your first listen or watch, and send a special shout out to all the everydayers joining us, the Locked On Tar Heels Discord family, and of course, our great Locked On Tar Heels insiders. Welcome in. Here we go. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Place your first $5 bet and you'll get started with $200 in bonus bets, guaranteed. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Well, coming up on the show today, y'all, the victory bell is on the line as Carolina and Duke get together for the 110th time on Saturday. So here's some of what we're talking about today. How do you learn from JMU, but also move on from it? How will Jacolby Criswell follow up his ridiculous performance from Saturday? What is the real North Carolina defense? How are they going to handle this crowd at Wallace Wade Stadium, the high school stadium? And are we going to have yet another tight North Carolina Duke affair? Sirs, let's dive right into this thing, man. And here's my biggest question. And I want to pose it to you both specifically in the context of what happened last week to how you move on to this week, but also just in general, how you as a football player would handle this for yourself. So how do you balance learning what you need to learn and take away from the James Madison game, but then because of the nature of what happened, how do you put it behind you and start afresh this weekend at Duke?
Well, first off, you got a wake-up call knowing that you're not invisible. The way Carolina lost last week, I'm pretty sure everybody on the team knows that at any point in time we could be beat, and we could be beat badly. That loss at home was horrendous, man. Like a whole bunch of miscues, whole bunch of turnovers and penalties. It was penalty after penalty, and some of them was the same penalties, late hits on the quarterback, Pat Willis pass interferences on the defensive back or linebacker, jumping off sides. Like, come on now, especially with being at home, you should rarely jump off sides at home. You have the crowd in your favor. Now, with that being said, like you said, it's a wake up call, man. Like you got to learn from it. The small miscues, the little things that played out throughout that game that got them beat and got the score out of hand the way it did. Fortunately, UNC fought back. The score didn't resemble it really. I mean, it was still 70-50, which was a high scoring game. I've never been involved in a game of that magnitude. You know what I mean? Only time I've been involved in a game of that magnitude, I was on the winning side. And that was really, that was in high school. We beat the team 65-14 on their homecoming when I was in high school. So
oh my gosh, that's
I was
crazy.
on the winning side of that. And then they also know, like, when a team scores on you, not only on offense, but when they score on you on special teams and they score on you on defense, it's hard to for you to come back from that. And matter of fact, in that 65-14 matchup when I was in high school, that's how we went up so much. We scored 5 times on offense. We blocked the punt and returned it for a touchdown, and we had a pick 6 for a touchdown. So, and that was pretty much the same thing that happened to UNC. Not trying to compare. I'm just
Sure.
giving hints to how that can happen, and that's the only other time I've seen a loss of that magnitude. But when you're clicking on in all 3 phases, the score can get out of hand. So you have to learn from that. Protection got to be better on punt. You got to be able to stop teams. You got to, in the NFL, we call it stop the bleeding. So, like, once a team gets the momentum, we got to do everything we can to stop the bleeding, to turn off that momentum and get the ball back, whether it's interception here or there, we causing a turnover, or getting off the field, and then our offense utilizing the field position or utilizing us giving them the ball back and scoring. But no matter what, you got to be able to control the tempo and keep teams that start off hot like that. You got to be able to keep them under control, because if not, as we all seen last Saturday, it could get out of hand, and it got out of hand real quick. It was 53 They had 53 at halftime.
At halftime, yeah.
Right. So that's insane. Normally the team gets 53. That's at the end of the game. This James Madison had 53 at the half. So that was hard. That was hard to watch. But you got to be able to learn from it, man. Be able to bounce back. Understand what you did wrong. Eat it. Mature from it. Grow from it. Apply it to this week's game plan, and be able to come out every week is a new week. That's the best thing about it. Thank God this wasn't the last game of the season, so we're staying with that for a whole year. We have a chance to get that taste out. I'm saying we, as a university, as a team, they have a chance to get that taste out of their mouth this week against Duke, which is a rival opponent. So it's going to be a big matchup.
And not only was it not the last game of the season, it also wasn't an ACC game. So while you hate to lose to a James Madison, in some ways it's like, all right, well, now we're still unblemished in ACC play. And I think to your point, Sirs, there as well, it's like that really snowballed in that second, the latter parts of the first half. And James Madison went on a 42-7 run there, which is just ridiculous. And in terms of what you said about, like, you kind of let that one get away from you, what you also can't do is let it get away from you this season. And we often use the verbiage of, like, you can't let one loss turn into two because you're dwelling on that. And so I love what you're saying about, look, you got to learn from it. Yes. But you also have to start over and recognize that this is a brand new week with brand new potential to set a new course for your season. One of the ways, sirs, I think that Carolina is going to have to do that is, for me, what is maybe the key matchup this weekend, and that is Duke's stellar so far defense against North Carolina's offensive line. And I know we're going to talk fully line of scrimmage later on in our what to watch for, but here, sirs, here is my question to you. Can North Carolina keep Duke out of the backfield? And here's why I ask that. Duke right now leads the nation in tackle for loss with 46 of them. Oh, by the way, the Tar Heels are 98th in FBS in tackle for losses allowed. Also, Duke is second in the nation in sacks. Through 4 games, they have 15, behind only the 16 that Miami has. Meanwhile, on the flip side, the Tar Heels are 80th in the nation in sacks allowed. So, sirs, can the Carolina offensive line keep Duke out of the backfield?
I believe they can. It comes down to pride, man. It comes down to pride. Like, if I was an offensive lineman, my thing is not to let my opponent touch my quarterback, and the whole front has to have that mentality. They has to be able to communicate, picking up pressures and noticing, like, fronts and whatnot. It's about preparation. The running back plays a key in that as well, being able to pick up blitzes, because I know they're going to pressure us as well. The teams that has pressured us, they have got to the quarterback. James Madison was all over us. So Jacolby makes some heck of a throws on the run, but he was in duress.
He was under duress, yes,
the whole game. So
which kudos to him, by the way. That was, wow,
absolutely. So if James Madison could generate that type of pressure on us, Duke D line is licking their chops. They're expected to be able to do the same thing. But now, like you said, it's about UNC going back to the drawing board, looking at themselves in the mirror, and getting better, and having a sense of pride and acknowledgement and knowing, like, what they need to do to be able to control this game. And the main way they can control the game is keep that quarterback on their feet. And if Jacolby can make plays like that on the run, on the move all game, like he did against James Madison, if he's able to just sit there in the pocket and sling it, then I believe North Carolina has a great chance of winning.
And part of the good news, too, I think, for the Tar Heels is that if there is any sort of weakness for Duke's defense, the specific part of it where they're more vulnerable so far this season anyway is on the ground, where their rush yards per game allowed is a bit higher. And the good news is that's where Carolina's greatest strength is, because there's this dude back there named Omarion Hampton. Let me give you my my updated Omarion rushing watch, folks. Right now, he's averaging 138.8 yards a game, 550 total yards, which, keep in mind, that average would be higher, except he had to leave the Charlotte game early, having already amassed 77 yards just in the first half. He's got 6 rushing touchdowns. So at his current pace, I did some math, sirs. That's right. I woke up and broke out the calculator on a Thursday morning. He's on pace for 1,665 rushing yards this season, which would put him second in Carolina history, just ahead of himself and still behind Don McCauley's 1,720. But I went a little deeper on it, sirs. If you take that Charlotte game out of the equation, he is averaging 159.3 rushing yards per game. At that pace, he would finish with 1,830, which is just absolutely bonkers in a 12-game schedule. And that's not even accounting for a potential bowl game and what he could do there if he played in the bowl game. Obviously, this day and age, who knows? Right. But, sirs, how comforting is that to know that despite what might happen between the offensive line and Duke's D, that once again, you got a dude named Amarion Hampton?
Right. Well, if Carolina's dominating the line of scrimmage and knowing that Duke kind of struggles in the run game, then yeah, your strength is going to be to run the ball, find ways to get Amarion going, and that way, if you do get in a third down, it's like third and short, third and manageable yardage. That way, Jacolby can get the ball out of his hands quick. That eliminates sacks. That eliminate tackles for losses and whatnot. But it all, like I said, it all starts up front. Knowing that that's a weakness of Duke, I would try to exploit it for sure, running the ball and staying out of danger and whatnot. At times you still gonna be, you may still end up in third and long situations, but you try to limit those as much as possible. So if we could get the big guy going, Amarion, that would help out tremendously.
All right. So in order to do that, Carolina is going to have to establish the line of scrimmage, but that needs to happen on the other side of the ball as well. And we got to see what sort of follow-up, what encore is Jacolby Criswell going to have for that game that he had on Saturday against James Madison. We're going to get to those and more in our What to Watch For coming up in just a second. Right after I tell you about Robinhood. Robinhood Gold allows others to get the rates and perks usually reserved for the high society. Now the resourceful individual with Robinhood Gold can earn the very liberal rate of 4.5% APY on uninvested cash, receive unlimited 1% deposit bonuses, and be rewarded with a handsome 3% retirement boost on an IRA account. Robinhood Gold provides the privileges of a high net worth for any net worth. These generous benefits are now available for just $5 a month. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. So sign up at robinhood.com/gold. Terms apply. For product-specific disclosures, visit robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risk. Rate may change. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold, LLC. Oh, you know what time it is. It's our weekly What to Watch For, as we give you 4 things that we're watching for in Saturday's game at Wallace Wade Stadium. Circe and I are each going to give you 2 things to help hopefully educate you more to be a more prepared fan for Saturday. So, Circe, why don't you start us off as always? What's the first thing you're watching for on Saturday?
What to watch for on Saturday, like we mentioned earlier, who controls the line of scrimmage? You got a team that tops the nation in tackles for loss and sacks, and you got a team that's kind of on the fringe and struggling of giving up tackles for loss and giving up sacks. So, hey man, it's gonna come to a head this Saturday, man. They gotta bring it, man. Hopefully they will, knowing that it's a rivalry game. So you're gonna be more up to it. This is bragging rights for the area. It was the first ACC game, so we want to get out to a good start for sure. So got to establish that line of scrimmage, and you got to be able to run the ball. Keep Jacolby up on his feet. This is allow him to make plays with his arm. If he has to make plays with his feet, let it come when the play breaks down. But you don't want it to be every play. So whoever can man that line of scrimmage, whoever can take hold to it, whoever can run if we can run the ball, we can keep the tackle for losses down, and that allows us to be in third and manageable situations, and that allows us to keep the drives going and keeps the defense off the field and keep them fresh.
Speaking of, what about on your side of the ball? What do you want to see? And by your side of the ball, I mean you as a defensive back. Right. What do you want to see from Carolina's defense establishing that line of scrimmage? It sounds like we're once again going to be without Kamen Rucker on defense, and so that line has a big task ahead of them as well.
Absolutely. Well, mainly I want to see better communication on the back end. We gave up too many plays. I keep saying we because I'm a Tar Heel alumni, man.
You are. Look, you played for this team. It counts.
Absolutely. So it was too many miscues on the back end. We let too many big. We gave way too many big plays last week, and a lot of them. It was only one big play that came with just one-on-one, and that was the deep ball in the first half. But other than that, it was all communication breakdowns. So those are things that should be fixed and adjusted throughout this week of practice. So now that when it's game time comes, like you don't make those same mistakes. That shows your growth. That shows your growth as an individual as each player gets better. That also shows your growth in the team and that side of the ball as well. So you be able to play together and limit those mistakes, man. You could beat anybody.
We were just a peek behind the curtain, everybody. Circe and I were laughing before we started recording. There was the free play touchdown where Carolina had jumped off sides, and it's like, look, as a defensive back, especially in college where it's not a spot foul, it's just 15 yards, like tackle that dude. Don't let him run free to the end zone.
Exactly. Once you know, I'm not letting nobody run free on me for sure.
Even if it means giving up 10 more yards instead of just the 5 for the offside, that's better than 6, baby.
That's better than 6 points, absolutely. Not in the end zone, so I'll take that any day.
Yeah. So obviously Coach Collins talked about that in his press conference this week about the communication and getting in simpler plays to let the guys just make plays, Circe. And you talked about that miscommunication. I just want to drill down on that a little bit more. How important is that? You know, you obviously somebody who has played in the secondary at the highest level of professional football in our world. How important is that to just let you guys go out there and be athletes and make plays and getting those types of calls that allow you to do so?
Man, it's great. It allows you to play freely. It's like giving the answers to the test when everybody's out there talking, because you're preparing each other, you're learning each other for what could come, what could possibly come. And if you're ahead of it, it makes the defense better. It makes the team better, because if everybody is alert and on their P's and Q's, and they see something that we all been discussing, whether it be throughout practice, maybe we talked about it, because I've seen situations where we discussed something on the sideline, and then directly that next series, what we discussed came up, and everybody was looking at each other like, man, like we just talked about this. But it was a good thing, because we was all ready. Everybody was out there communicating and talking, and we got to stop. And nine times out of 10, when everybody was on the same page, we got turnovers. Or if the quarterback had to eat the ball, it allowed our front four to get sacks. You know what I'm saying? So either way, we was off the field. So that made the game a lot easier. I mean, a lot of defenses today, they don't do as much talking, and I don't understand why. It's insane. You got to be able to communicate with each other, especially in high stakes like that. And now, especially with us being on the road this week, we should be able to hear each other. I mean, being at home, it may be a little difficult, because you got the home crowd that's hyped on third down. So you may have a little trouble of hearing the guy next to you, because I've been in situations where I remember the times where Deontay was literally 10 yards away from me, and I couldn't hear a word Deontay was saying. But we was able to use hand signals, and we was able to communicate that way. But being on the road, the crowd is typically quiet when you're on defense, because they want to see their offense work. So it's more easier to communicate with each other. But an old saying from Coach Chuck Pagano, we all communicate. Even if we're all wrong, we're all right. We have a chance to get a stop here and get off the field. Because if we're all wrong, even if we're all wrong, but everybody's alert and playing the same scheme together as a unit, we have a better chance of winning that down.
That's so good. Thank you for that insight, sirs. Appreciate it. What to watch for point number 2. This one's coming for me. How does Jacolby Criswell follow up last Saturday's performance? As we've said already multiple times, he was under duress a large portion of the game. Both he and quite frankly, Omarion as well. James Madison found their way to the backfield, and yet Jacolby Criswell, who although he's been in college for a long time, just doesn't have much playing in his college career. He's been a backup most of the time here. And so I thought he showed great poise. Yes, there was the pick 6. Yes, there was the fumble, things of that nature. But by and large, he showed himself well. Obviously racked up the 3rd most single game passing yards in Carolina history. Right. I know it was a blowout, a shootout. So, that's part of it as well. But I thought for game 1 of him really being QB1, he showed the things you needed him to show. It sounded from what Mac Brown talked about that he was pleased with it. I'm sure Coach Lindsey, and now there's all that film for them to work on ahead of this game this week. And so I'm really curious to see now as Carolina goes on the road against a rival. Oh, by the way, how does Criswell follow that up? And we've been talking about the line, but how do they help him more this week? So that's what to watch for point number 2. All right, Sirs, take us to number 3. What's what to watch for number 3?
Crowd control, with it being a rivalry game and being at Duke Stadium. I remember when Duke Stadium had a track around it. The football field had a track around it like a high school field. I used to always laugh at it. I remember the first time I went there, I was like, "What is this, high school?" It's not a stadium, but they don't make some upgrades. It's actually a nice place to play now. But you got to be able to take the crowd out of it. They're going to come in hyped. They're 4-0. They on the roll. They know we're 3-1. They know we came off a heartbreaking blowout loss. So they're antsy. They know our offensive line is struggling. So they're chomping at the bit to get after us. So we have to come in and just punch them in the mouth, control that crowd. Once the crowd out of it, and everything settles down, then at the end of the day, it turns into another football game. You just got to play, come out there and execute on your P's and Q's and be able to make plays when they come to you. So, but if you're able to get that crowd out of it, that'll play a major part in it. I want to see people leaving at halftime.
Yes. And it feels like it might help. I know I hope I'm not overblowing this, but the fact that it starts at 4 rather than 7 or 8, I think plays to Carolina's favor. It's less time for the Duke crowd to get as many libations maybe in them. And also it's not, there's just something about nighttime football that seems to make the home crowd even hungrier and thirstier and make more of an impact. And so I think it helped. Now I know by the time the fourth quarter rolls around, it's going to be dark and that's fine, whatever. But I feel like the starting time being in the afternoon is hopefully in the Tar Heels' favor. What to watch for? Point number 4. What's the real North Carolina defense, man? That's what I'm watching to see, sirs, because we had those first 3 weeks where did a phenomenal job controlling, particularly the ground game, holding teams down. And then you face a team last week with an extremely mobile quarterback in Alonzo Barnett III, who gashed Carolina on the very first play of the game. He and unfortunately George Pettaway each individually had more rushing yards last week than any other team Carolina had played this season. That is crazy to me. How does Carolina, both in the ground game and overall, we've already talked about the back game, so I don't need the back end of it. I don't think we need to say too much more, but I really want to see what kind of adjustments Jeff Collins makes and then what kind of execution adjustments the defense themselves makes. This is a week for pride. Who are you and how do you step up in the moment?
Absolutely. I agree with you 100%. It's about pride. ACC opponent, rivalry game. Come on now, like you got to grow up, man. Like it's time. Like we've been overdue. We got to be able to just put it all together now. Like you said, first 3 weeks we was good. I don't know what happened last week. Very first play we was gashed for a 50-yard run. I mean, we stalled that drive to a field goal, but then it just got out of hand after that. So you got to be able to grow in this game. You got to be able to get better week in and week out because the competition is only going to get better week in and week out. I believe Carolina probably came out looking past James Madison. They shouldn't have. In this day and age with the transfer portal and recruiting now, like you shouldn't look past nobody. Like especially with teams who got guys on their team that's 4 and 5, and some teams even got 6 and 7 year seniors. So they got players that are ready to go, the players that are able to play, players that are able to get the job done. I mean, Duke is not the same Duke, and obviously Carolina knows that. So they need to come out there with that mindset, but they also got a little light the fire up underneath themselves and let Duke know that like, yo, this ain't the same defense that you seen on film last week. We just had a hiccup. So now you're facing us. We're gonna show you how we play defense, and we gonna trust in Coach Collins' scheme, and we're gonna go out there and execute to the best of our abilities.
That's right. I love that word hiccup. Let's render what happened last week a hiccup, a blip on the 2024 schedule. That's what you got to do. So the question is, will Carolina be able to continue their winning streak over Duke, which sits at 5 games right now? We're going to make our score predictions and get you ready for the details of this game coming up in just a second. Right after I tell you about FanDuel. Hey, NFL fans, you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. It's America's #1 sportsbook. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets. That's guaranteed money when you place your first $5 bet. Unfortunately, right now, as we look ahead to this game, the Blue Devils are favored by 2.5. Let's go make those odds makers look silly on Saturday. Go ahead and find your way to the Tar Heels and make sure, hopefully they just win outright, but at the very least, cover this bad boy. So if you want to get in on that action or anything else for this Saturday, go check out FanDuel.com. It's America's #1 sportsbook. North Carolina comes into Wallace Wade Stadium riding a 5-game winning streak in this series, which, by the way, not so coincidentally lines up with Mac Brown's return to Chapel Hill, sirs. In fact, Mac himself has a personal 13-game winning streak against Duke. In this 5-game streak, there have been 2 blowouts, but the other 3 games have all been within 3 points of one another. Last year, folks, you might remember that bonkers 2 overtime 47-45 victory for Carolina, where they almost gave it away as Duke got that 4th and 7 conversion with like 40 seconds to go in the game. Carolina miraculously was able to get a field goal that Noah Burnett slid just inside the upright and then won in overtime as Duke couldn't convert a 2-point conversion in the second overtime. Hopefully we don't have that kind of heart attack this year. Let's remember, folks, Mike Elko is no longer Duke's coach. He's in College Station now. Who is the head coach? Manny Diaz. Why is that important? Because he used to be Mac Brown's defensive coordinator in Austin, Texas, before Mac fired him. Let's do that again. Let's fire him this Saturday. As Sirs mentioned earlier, this is the ACC opener for both teams. Duke comes in undefeated with wins over Elon, Northwestern, UConn, and Middle Tennessee State. Look, sirs, a couple of the Duke names to know just on the offensive side. It's always good to know some of those weapons. Malik Murphy, who oddly enough was a Texas transfer. I know he wasn't there under either of these coaches, but man, full circle. This dude has at least 200 passing yards and 2 touchdown passes in every game this year, 3 touchdown passes in each of the past 3 games. He has, however, sirs, thrown exactly 1 pick in every game. Pure pocket guy, not much of a runner at all. What have you, if you've seen Murphy at all this year, or I don't know if you've watched much of him, but what are you looking for Carolina to do to try to bother him?
Since he's much more of a pocket passer, try to get him off the spot. We need to create pressure, getting him move around, getting him uncomfortable, not be able to set his feet on throws. And if he's giving up at least 1 interception, we need to turn that into 3 or 4 Saturday. We need to get our hands on the ball, man. And we haven't been doing that. We punched a few out, caused a couple of fumbles and whatnot, but we need some interceptions. We need to turn some of those interceptions into points. If not points, set our offense up in good field positions. I mean, we all know our offense can move the ball, but if we can set them up where they don't have to move as much and it can be quick scores and whatnot, then that'll be good. That's another way to take the crowd out of the game for sure. If we could get up on them quickly. He's still a playmaker at the end of the day. 200 yards a game, 2 touchdown passes a game. That don't come easy. So he's more than capable. Again, this is, like I said, it's going to be a rivalry game. He's going to be looking for something to prove. Coach of Duke, Manny, he's definitely, I know he's firing this team up because he was fired by Max, so he's looking for some get back. I know a lot of coaches say it's no hard feelings when they're fired or let go from a job, but there is some hard feelings. You want to show you made a mistake. That's the same as a player getting cut or traded to a team and he gets to play against his former team. He wants to show out. This is what you guys missed. You should have paid me, or you should have kept me. So he's going to be looking, because Manny's going to be looking to be like, yeah, I told you so. I told you I was good enough. So obviously he's good enough because he got a head coaching job. So we're not saying that, but I'm pretty sure from being Max protege and working alongside him, he wants to prove that I can beat you, and I have the talent to beat you. I'm pretty sure Mac wants to keep him in his place and be like, I'm still the teacher, you're the student. So it's interesting. That's what it's all about, though.
Those
when
dynamics, man.
Yeah. Competition, man. So all those things are coming full circle. I'm pretty sure Mac didn't expect to meet up with him on opposite ends in the ACC, but hey, that's how it goes, especially in the world of sports. Anything can happen. So I mean, it's gonna be a big matchup this Saturday. I can't wait to look see what happens.
And in the backfield, Thomas Starr is the key running back to know, 100+ yards in each of the past 2 games. He's not really involved much in the passing game, so that's nice. You don't really face a more mobile quarterback like you did last week. And in terms of your running back, you don't have to worry about him too much leaking out of the backfield. Unless, of course, they've been just hiding it, not showing it, waiting for this game. We'll have to see. And then in terms of receivers, Jordan Moore, you probably remember his name from last year. He had 3 touchdowns in that win for Carolina last year. So far this season, he's 24 receptions for 340 yards and 3 touchdowns. And then the other big name to know is Eli Pancole, who has 15 for 189 and 4 scores. So we'll keep our eyes on those guys on the perimeter. Sirs, Carolina leads the all-time series, at least by their record book, 65-40 and 4 ties. Duke's has 2 less wins for Duke. So honestly, I'd probably rather go with that record. But as you said earlier, Duke's undefeated at 4-0, Carolina 3-1. This game takes place at 4:00 Eastern in Wallace Wade Stadium tomorrow on ESPN2. As we've already said, Duke is favored by 2.5 in this one at our good friends at FanDuel. Sirs, how's this one going to play out?
I got Carolina winning 28-21. It's going Carolina 28-21. Duke's will come out on fire. They're going to be antsy. You got to be able. Carolina can be able to weather the storm and just play to our strengths. Make the plays when they come to us. If a play arrives and an opportunity presents itself, you got to be able to make those plays. You can't let them off the hook for sure.
I wouldn't be surprised. I don't love that game script because it would be hard. You never want to have to come back, but it makes a ton of sense for Duke to just get that hot start at home, and maybe Carolina has to establish themselves later. It's one of those where you'll be really interested if that is how it plays out. Is Chip Lindsey convicted enough to continue using the ground game to get right back in it, right? Like, you don't want to abandon that and just rely on Criswell's arm. So I wouldn't be surprised at all if that's how it plays out and Carolina comes back. I know that would have a lot of nervous Tar Heels fans, but it makes sense on the road in a rivalry game. I like that call, 28-21. Sirs, I was going to go a little bit higher than that. 31-24 was going to be my call. So just north of yours, but still that same 1 touchdown gap. Carolina both winning and covering at over in Durham, and hopefully I just hope it's not that within 3 points again, because my heart can't take all those palpitations on Saturday. So going to be excited to watch it. Cersei, are you going to the game, or are you watching from home? What are you doing?
I'm gonna watch from home. I don't go to Duke campus. I don't do that, man. I drive by, but I don't step foot on Duke. I've been to Duke campus 3 times, twice to play them as a visiting team. And then once when I was working in administration and I was on the sideline. Other than that, I don't go to Duke campus.
I appreciate that. I only go there when I absolutely am forced to because of my job or my playing. And so that's the way to handle it, my man.
I'm going to keep it the same way. And if I do have to go on their campus, I will wear something Carolina.
Good man. Good man. All right, gang. It's so fun to be together today and get ready for this game. If you haven't subscribed to the show on audio and video, make sure you do that. Hit the bell notification on YouTube so you get notified as soon as we go live for our post game after the game tomorrow, and then you can just click right in on it. If you're not part of the Locked On Tar Heels Discord, you're missing out there. We'd love to have you. We're going to be talking all game day long, and so make sure you tap in on that. It's free to join. The link for it's in the show notes. Come for the Tar Heels, stay for the community. Also, if you're not part of the brand new Locked On Tar Heels Insider program, where you have the opportunity to text with me back and forth one-on-one, and I give you access to all of my stats and data, things like that, my spreadsheets. You get priority in mailbag questions, all sorts of good perks and rewards for that. It's 2-week free trial and then just $5 a month after that. You guys know the deal. It's always a great day to be a Tar Heel. We'll talk again tomorrow after the game, but until then, sirs, tell them.
Peace. Go Heels.